You're listening to Season 3 of That's Not How a Baby Sleeps. I'm your host, Alicia Daishon, and I'm joined by my co-host, Eleni Katsinis. We're not your average sleep consultants, no cry it out or sleep training at all, for that matter.
Hello.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good. I miss you.
I know. It's been a bit.
Forever.
I think your blonde streak. Is it blonde?
It's blonde, yeah.
Fun.
Got rid of the purple. Yeah.
Fiery fun.
What's been going on? How's your weekend?
Good. Oh yeah, we had Easter. Yeah. So Easter was very nice. But then I'm Greek, so next weekend, this coming Sunday, we have Greek Easter, Orthodox Easter. So we get to celebrate.
What do you do for that?
It's still like Easter traditions, but Greeks eat lamb on Easter. Okay. So that's a big thing that we do. Yeah, just hanging out with my family. It's kind of nice not to have to share that holiday. You know, it's split. Yeah. But every single, I think every 4 years lands on the same day. So that's challenging to try to figure that out. You know, divide. Last year we had to do it on the same day. And that's when Nora was all sugared up all day long and had a really, really hard time going to bed. And that's when I started our little ritual of picnic, snack picnics before bedtime. But ever since then, we've been doing them all the time. So it was a good thing. But anyways, over the weekend, she was good because I kept checking in with her all day. I'm remember last year you had a huge meltdown. It was really hard to get you to bed. I'm trying to teach her, of course we can have these treats and we can have a lot of fun and it's so exciting, but...
Look what it does to your body.
And just trying to teach her that as she gets older, it's easier than a 2-year-old throwing themselves on the ground type thing, you know? So
yeah.
Did you celebrate Easter?
Yeah, we did. Well, we didn't do anything crazy or anything. We did just Easter bunny things. Yeah. The girls, we had a group of friends who invited us to an Easter egg hunt at a playground park kind of thing. One of Luna's really good friends, her grandma, set it all up and they invited all the kids and stuff. So they all got to run around and find a bunch of Easter eggs and stuff. And then we just did the usual Easter bunny stuff on Sunday. We did go see one of those big giant Easter bunnies, like how you do in Santa. There was a free one going at it's strange. You guys have Bass Pro Shop or Cabela's?
Yes, we have both, I believe.
Okay, well, yeah, they had a free come see the Easter bunny and you get a picture or whatever. So we went there, and he's creepy.
Yeah, I think he's kind of creepy, and I love the Nora's imagination to she's I wonder if he's she believes in the Easter bunny. I don't know if she believes in the Easter bunny or she just pretends to believe because she knows she gets something out of it, and I hope she even does that for years. I don't even care. But she's I wonder if it's small or he's big or I can stay up and catch him. I'm no, you're gonna go to bed. But she left the Easter bunny a note and was all excited. Aww. And we do the Easter basket too. And it's funny because we're Christians, so a lot of Christians don't do that and don't do Santa, and I understand that, but we still do it because it's fun. Yeah. It's they're only little forever, and it's
fun.
The Easter bunny and Santa always leave her something about Jesus. I'm oh, the Easter bunny loves Jesus too. I always try to tell him that because I don't want her to obsess over it, right? Even for any family, because it's not all about that. It is about being with your family. So, but it's fun, it's all fun things. But the Easter bunny is a little creepy, the big head.
He was big and scary, and I was he was on break when we got there, and I was just sitting in one of their camping chairs, just reading on my phone, and I looked to my left, and his head's just staring at me. I was oh, hi.
Reading on your phone, a book you're reading on your phone, when you're out in public, read on your phone.
Yeah. So I was just sitting there reading on my phone. Beside me, I was oh, he's I'm you're so creepy. I was oh, Luna, he's back, and Luna was down for it, but Aylin, she was I'll go sit with him for just the picture. But then the picture guy was missing for a while, so it took us a while. I was where is he? And the Easter bunny's going, I don't know. He's not saying anything. I was this is so weird. And Luna's just sitting there waiting to get her picture taken, kind of looking at him and then looking away. And that's just so funny. Wow. So yeah, we got a picture taken. I was okay, we did all the Easter stuff in the morning and then went and got a picture with him. And Aylin was fine with it. But yeah, she was just I don't want to sit with him for too long. He's creepy. I'm yeah. She's and he scared you. I'm he did.
He's a little trickster.
But I actually, yeah, we didn't really do anything else besides that and stuff. My mom just got back from Mexico and I think it was on Friday or something. So they stayed on the mainland and everything. They didn't really do much, but it was fun. But Nora has a birthday coming up next week.
She does.
Are we at 7 now?
No, she'll be 6.
So 6. Okay. I couldn't remember the age difference between her and Aylin.
Yeah, she'll be 6 on next Tuesday. So
are you guys doing anything for that?
We're doing lots of things. So on her actual birthday, she doesn't have any programming with her homeschool thing. So we're gonna go to, you ever heard of Chuck E. Cheese?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm so stupid. I feel like we're like on different planets, but we're not.
Yeah.
So we grew up on Chuck E. Cheese as like kids. Like that was our spot. And she's never been to Chuck E. Cheese yet because the one that was near our house closed down. There's one like 30 minutes away. She saw a commercial. She's like, oh, can we go there? I was like, sure. So we wanted to go there for her like her birthday. We'll hang out with my sisters and my nieces and like my mom. And then the weekend after, we'll do a friend's birthday party at like an arcade place, like mini golf and like all these arcade games with friends from like school. And then on the next day, we'll do a family party with Dave's family. So we have lots of things. And we also just bought her a trampoline. And she loves trampolines, like obsessed with them. Like we go to Get Air Trampoline Park. She does Ninja Warrior with the trampoline. So I know she's going to be like so excited, but we just have to put the thing together. So I'm really not looking forward to that.
Yeah. Like a big one for the backyard?
Like 12 feet. Yeah. So it's not huge. I think it holds like 400 pounds, which isn't really a lot. If you think about it, that's like Dave, me, and Nora. Like we would have to like not no more than that, which I wouldn't want that anyways. Like I've gotten her on a trampoline. My sister broke a bone on a trampoline. So like I know the risk, but she loves it. I think we'll be fine. So we're excited.
It's so funny because there's like there's trampoline rules obviously now, and like they all have nets around them. But like when we were kids, like
no, it was
we're all just bonking heads, getting double bounce, breaking bones, falling off. Like it was just wild. And now I'm like, one person at a time, please.
Or even just like even weight. Like my little sister broke her femur on a trampoline, and that's a big bone to break, right? Like the whole femur. She was getting bounced by a much larger girl than her and a lot of people, which is not safe. I got stitches on my chin because we used to jump from our shed to the trampoline. So obviously you're not supposed to do things like that. But I like fell off the trampoline to hit the cement. But Dave's like laughing. I mean, we didn't, like you said, we didn't have nets back then, but now you have to, there's always a net with the trampoline.
Which makes sense.
It does. I would love to like dig up my ground and like do the trampoline in the ground. You have these that, but we're not doing that. We don't.
I've heard that there's like a snake. There could be like snakes and stuff. Like people, whenever somebody posts that online, they're like, "Yeah, like that's not really a good idea because then it ends up being." I'm like, that just freaks
probably
me out.
Where they live though too. Like it wouldn't make sense for us because we live in like a cold area. Like it's mostly cold.
Same. It wouldn't happen with us,
like,
but
if you live somewhere warm year round and your backyard like never gets frozen, like it wouldn't make sense. I just would feel better about it, but whatever. There's risk no matter what your children do. They jump outside and they can get hurt. So we'll be good.
That's so exciting though. I know she'll love it. Cool. Okay, we are talking about supporting emotions while making changes around sleep. I just don't think we've talked about this much lately. I feel like I was going back on episodes and I'm like, I feel like this is a conversation that we haven't discussed recently. So a lot of the time, I think with us being gentle sleep consultants, everyone just assumes that it's like no tears, which, we obviously try to, like, especially when we're dealing with like younger babies and stuff, we're not really looking at supporting emotions. We're just kind of doing with whatever works. But when we're looking at like making changes to sleep associations, weaning, things like that, there's likely going to be some tears around that. And I know when you are kind of focusing on being more of a gentle parent or an attachment parent, your baby crying makes you feel like you're doing something wrong and you don't want to affect your attachment relationship. So this usually makes a lot of parents not want to make those types of changes because they're like, I tried it a little bit and my child cried and I was like, no, this isn't going to work. Which, I mean, sometimes we do have to kind of meet them where they are. They might not be ready for that type of a change, but when emotions make us uncomfortable, that's not a good thing. There is a middle ground. Obviously, we don't use like cry it out sleep training or anything like that involves like leaving your child to cry alone. But we also are not on the side of like just do nothing and just continue to, nurse, even though you absolutely hate it and you don't want to do it anymore. When you're starting to kind of resent a sleep association, it's time to make a change because I think we talked about this in like our gentle weaning episode is like, you don't want your nursing relationship to end on a negative point. Like if you're at that point where you're like, I don't want to do this anymore, or I don't want to rock a 25-pound toddler to sleep anymore while I'm standing up. Like it is okay to make a change around that. You just have to be comfortable with supporting the emotions that come with that change. And crying, it is a form of communication. I know a lot of sleep trainers will use they always say this phrase and it's like, it's just protest crying, which like, duh, obviously they're protesting being alone. I think it's just such a silly thing to say, but crying is communication, and we just need to be comfortable supporting that. We're not trying to like fix or stop the tears from happening, but we want to be able to be emotionally regulated and support our children through that. And a lot of us didn't really grow up with being comfortable with the emotional piece. Tears are not okay, and you shut those down and you just internalize them, was kind of how most of us grew up.
I was just gonna add before, just I guess a disclaimer, like before we're making changes around sleep associations, just to go through like all of our other episodes and like think about like your wake windows, right? And like all those other things first, because we can be trying to change like a sleep association, but if they're not set up for optimal sleep, it might take a lot longer. And like, you know, I feel like this is kind of the last piece. Do you agree? Like making sure all that stuff's in place first. And then if we're still getting lots of wake ups or a hard time settling, then maybe it is time for change, like shifting a sleep association. But well, like you said, obviously, if it's not sustainable for you to keep rocking a toddler or to keep nursing every single hour, there might be other things going on. And that's something that we always work through with clients, is like identifying everything before we change the association, and just realizing, like you said, a baby versus like a toddler. Like it's not realistic to like totally wean a 4-month-old or like possibly totally stop rocking a 4-month-old, but just like figuring out where your child's at and like development and all those things too.
Totally. And that leads into the fear of like, I shouldn't be rocking my 4-month-old to sleep because eventually they're going to be a lot bigger and I'm not going to be able to do that. Like, no, like do whatever works during that period of time. You can make changes later. You just have to be comfortable with the emotional piece later on. And a lot of parents aren't. So like, that's something, if you're not comfortable with supporting emotions, we want to work on, because it is a part of building a securely attached child, being able to set like loving boundaries and limits around things that are just not working for your family anymore. But you have to be comfortable with the emotional piece. And so many parents are so scared of tears. They're like using distraction to stop tears. And it's like, no, like redirection, you know, obviously there are times where I'm going to redirect my child, but like if we are working on supporting emotions, I'm going to hold that boundary and I'm going to sit with you and I'm going to support you through this change. And just really understanding that like there are different types of tears. I was actually looking it up again before this episode, but like if you look at tears under a microscope, if you just Google like what do tears look like, different types of tears under a microscope, it'll come up on but like onion tears, like when you get onions like near and you're cutting them, they look different than like tears of change or tears of like anguish. So it looks different under a microscope. And supporting emotions and tears, it is really an important part of building a securely attached child, because if you're not comfortable supporting those emotions, like in regards to sleep related things, you're not going to be comfortable supporting emotions in just toddler tantrum types of things. When you're like, hey, I'm going to say no to you having all of your Easter candy in one day. And then they get upset and we use distraction to make them stop crying. We don't want to do that. We have to be comfortable with all supporting emotions in different areas of our children's lives. The sleep part is just one piece of that. And I feel like it gives you a good opportunity to kind of practice for those future boundaries that you're going to have to put in place regardless.
Totally. It definitely gets easier as you do it, right? Like we talked about this with toddlers before, like the first time that we always get people coming to us, like we tried it for 1 second and it was horrible, right? Like, of course it's horrible, like to hear your child cry like that, because they're not used to it. Like they're young children, toddlers, maybe older babies, like they have to get used to that. And that's okay for them the first time. They might cry a long time, but like you said, they're not crying alone. And it really does get better, and it gets lesser and lesser and lesser every time you do it. Like our kids are a lot older now, just like with anything. Of course, there's moments where they cry for maybe a long period of time where they're super upset, but we've set these boundaries for such a long period of time. They know how things are when we say no to something, or even like Nora wants to sleep in our bed like every single night, and we're just like, not every night. Like we love you so much, and like there's times where you're allowed to sleep in our bed. She's so funny. She'll go, what day is it today? We're like, Wednesday. She's like, okay, how about every Wednesday I sleep in your bed? You know? And we do sometimes weekly she does sleep in our bed, or like on the weekends, or I'm like, you can always, like, I just want her to start in her bed. Please just start in your bed and then you can come anytime after, but I just want a little bit of space. But like just going off of that, like the first time you do it's going to be really challenging, but then it really does get easier. This is like you said with anything, like. And I also feel like a lot of these gentle parents, or just like you said, if we're uncomfortable with emotion, we feel like we have this martyr mentality. Like if we're not going to do this way, if we're not going to sleep train, or if we're not going to let our children cry it out, they're never allowed to cry now because we want to make them happy all the time. But if we ever hear like, oh my gosh, my baby's so happy they never cry, I'm like, whoa, that's a red flag to me. It's great that babies cry. I mean, sorry, it's great that your baby's happy, but they're going to cry. They should cry. Like, not every single second, every single day, but tears are a healthy expression, even like us. Like, I'm sure we have a cry once in a while and it feels good to just like release that. But obviously with a comforted person that loves you and cares about you. Like you said, that like those tears looking different. I never knew that. That's so interesting. I can't wait to research that.
It's really cool. Yeah, really, really cool. Absolutely. Like we need to be comfortable with supporting those big emotions. And most of us didn't grow up with that. It was like, we're going to close the door on emotions. So emotions make us uncomfortable, but there is a middle ground, and it is really a part of building a securely attached child. Like everyone talks about gentle parenting not being permissive parenting, and it's not. Like we obviously, we always talk about how much we hate the labels, but you got like the really hardcore parents who are like, no, I'm going to let my kid cry it out. I'm going to shut down all those emotions. And then you have the permissive side where the children are just like never allowed to cry at all because it makes us feel like we're doing something wrong, which is it's a you problem.
And then your child sees that tears make you uncomfortable, right? And they're not going to express things to you. They might not come to you for certain things. And obviously this is not just about sleep. It's like growing into your relationship with your child. If you're always shutting down those emotions or you're trying to make those tears stop, they're going to be like, okay, tears make mom really uncomfortable. I'm not allowed to express how I feel to her. And, we want our children to fully express every single emotion to us. Of course, it's probably triggering at times, and we can get very annoyed by it, especially because it's so much. But like, I was just talking with a friend about this because Nora says things to me like when she's really upset, like, oh, I wish you weren't my mom, or like, I wish I had a nicer mom, like just like things like that. I'm like, I'd rather be with grandma, or just all these things. I'm like, all right. I just like, I know we've talked about this before with your kids too. And my one friend who's a very much a gentle parent, and she's such a great parent. She's like, you know what? That's so great. Like that you created that really safe space for her that she trusts she can say those things and you'll still love her. I'm like, yeah, thanks for making me feel better.
Thanks for making me feel better.
It still sucks. I was like, I totally get that. Like we could never, I don't know how you were, but like I can't say those things to my parents. And
No, I wrote my mom mean letters.
Yeah. Like as I got older,
shoved them under her door and told her how much I didn't like her.
As a 5 or 6 year old, no way was I saying that stuff like to my parents. And like that generation is just so different. Like, of course, we don't want our kids calling us mean all the time, but it's going to happen. And like, just for them to be able to fully express those emotions to us because we've started at such a young age and we keep doing it, like that's a really beautiful thing. And like you said, that creates that secure attachment. Our kids get over things a lot faster. I'm sure
they do.
I'm sure they harp on things sometimes. Like if Nora's really tired or like it's hard to like help her transition through that, but like on a normal regular basis, like she just gets over things so much faster because we've done all that for all these years. So after all these years, guys, it does work. I promise. We are like reporting back. It seems like it took forever then, but now like, wow, 6 years just flew by like it was nothing. So it's crazy.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's interesting too, because one thing that we'll work on with families as well is like, say, introducing another caregiver into the sleep associations world. So like, for example, when I think Aylin was about 9 months, we started having Lane do some bedtimes and stuff. And the first night that we tried it, she screamed in his ear for an hour. And so many parents are like, they do it for a couple minutes. Like, no, this is too much. Mom takes over. And like, for me, it was really hard because I was like nursing to sleep. I was like, I can just go in that room and stick a boob in her mouth and she'll be asleep in 2 seconds. But we really wanted to focus on developing those sleep associations with her. So he stayed regulated and calm and wonderful. And he's much more regulated than I am. And he put his like little earbuds in and just sat there and just supported her through that change. And I think it was a couple, I want to say 3 nights. The next night, the time that she cried reduced and so on. And then once it was going well, it was like, okay, we could do bedtime interchangeably. And she didn't really care unless she was going through like a progression where it was like, no, I just want mommy, or no, I just want daddy, which was fine. But we've always been able to be kind of interchangeable since making that change. And a lot of parents are like, okay, like I want to make this change, but they don't realize that like sometimes it could be an hour of crying and like getting them prepped and prepared to do that. But there's a huge difference between a child crying alone from a co-regulation standpoint. Like they're not able to calm themselves down from a heightened state of stress compared to sitting in the arms of an attachment figure who's regulated themselves and co-regulating with them. And that's what actually teaches self-soothing long-term, not leaving a child to cry alone. They don't have those brain parts. And just to get all like technical and stuff, like they're born with survival brain. So their amygdala, they don't really have a fully developed hippocampus. So they're not able to actually calm themselves down. That's why we don't use sleep training with those type of separation based methods, because it's not what's happening when we leave children to cry alone. But that's a whole other topic, but that's kind of the gist of it. We want to be able to co-regulate with our children. So if you're going into the bedtime routine and you're like, I'm going to take over and develop these new sleep associations, or I'm going to not nurse to sleep, and you're like all anxious and stuff, it's not going to. So we want to get to the root of why that's going on before moving into making these types of changes. And I feel like talking about this and helping parents understand that tears are not a bad thing, as long as they are supported, can be really helpful, because again, we think that we're doing something wrong when our child is freaking out and crying and wanting to just nurse to sleep. And you're like, I know I could just make this so much easier. But if you're not enjoying nursing to sleep anymore, it is okay to kind of set that boundary and just support the emotions that come with that boundary. Do you want to add anything to that? One thing I do want to say though is, like, if you have kind of prepped yourself and you're going into supporting emotions and setting that boundary, and you at any point in time are like, I'm starting to kind of escalate now, it's best to just stop and say, okay, you know what? I can tell that you're having a really hard time with this, even though it might be you who's having a really hard time with this. I'm going to nurse you to sleep and we're going to try again tomorrow. Like, it is okay to communicate that with your child. Like, you're not failing at that point. Like, we're practicing supporting emotions. And I think that's something that is really common with clients that we work with, is the first couple times you try this, it might be just a trial run to kind of see how it goes, easing your child into it and stuff. Another technique that we both know from just our certification with Lauren is that pauses and breaks approach too, which I think is really handy, specifically with like sleep associations and removing things. So for example, we always have you layer in additional sleep associations before making that change. So like while you're nursing to sleep, introducing like a specific like sleepy song playlist and like adding in additional sleep associations while nursing to sleep. So your child starts to kind of associate other things with falling asleep. So you have something to utilize when supporting your child. But there are children who are a little bit more on the sensitive side, or very, very intense with their emotions. And they're going to escalate a lot and get to the point where they are very, very unregulated. And that in turn might cause you to be unregulated as well from a co-regulation standpoint. So it is okay to pause and take a break and be like, okay, I'm going to nurse you for a few minutes just to kind of regulate yourself. And then I'm going to pop you off and we're going to support some emotions. It's similar, I don't like saying this, but similar to kind of the idea of like the pick up put down method, where you're like creating that pattern with your child of like, okay, you're getting upset, I'm going to pick you up and until you're regulated and put you back down, which is fine. I don't necessarily think there's anything horribly wrong with that method, but that's usually, it's off a time based thing. It's like, okay, now you're going to wait 2 minutes. Like, you don't need a step-by-step method like that to know how to support your child's emotions. Like, you can tell when they're getting dysregulated, you're going to pick them up and support them through that, or you're going to, pause and nurse them for a few minutes, or do a little bit of rocking. And creating that pattern actually uses mirror neurons, because they are anticipating that you're going to start doing that again. So they'll calm down a little bit more between those intervals. But again, there's no time limit on that kind of stuff. You're kind of using your instincts with that and supporting your child the best you can, but kind of going pause, break, can be kind of helpful for regulating their nervous system to make it a little bit easier if they are more on the sensitive side, and it gives you a little bit of break with the tears aspect, because it's hard when you have a child screaming in the ear, which is why earbuds are helpful in my opinion.
Yeah, they really are. And it's just like what you're saying, that approach is great for like really highly sensitive ones, because they obviously might not be that adaptable to change like other kids are with like an easygoing temperament or not as an intense temperament. And that really creates like predictability for them too, because they know like the next night this probably is going to happen again, right? Like, mom just did this to me. It's going to happen again, but I know that I'm still safe. I know that I'm still going to go to sleep, just not in the way that I'm used to. So like, it really is not going to last like a full month. Like, parents are so scared that it's going to last such a long time. And if you do, you can do it in a very gentle way though, too, very gentle and gradual too. Like, it doesn't have to be like, okay, this 3 nights, we're going to work on this and we're going to let them cry for an hour every single night. It sounds so sleep training, So like, we're not doing that, but everything we are doing is going totally off of instinct and totally off of how you're feeling and how your child's feeling. And then if it's a horrible night, you don't have to do it the next night. Like, that's what's so different about our approach versus a sleep trainer's approach, that we're going to just take it night by night or hour by hour, however you're feeling. And we're going to encourage you to lean into those instincts and how you're feeling. And it's okay to like tap out and have your partner go in, or vice versa. Like you said, like, no one's failing at this. No one's like keeping record or score of how you're doing or what you're doing. This is totally based off of your instincts and how your child's doing. And they might really surprise you and do a lot better than you think. Like we've heard that from so many different clients, like just transitioning from anything. Usually it's the mom being really anxious and nervous about it because they're scared of the change. And like even with our own children, like making changes, they weren't as difficult as we thought they were going to be. So
for sure. Yeah. And I feel like we talk about it all the time, but like kind of around that 12-month mark, both of us, we were like, okay, we're going to, if there are opportunities throughout the day to set boundaries and support the emotions that come with that, I was always practicing that with my kids. So as they got older and I weaned, Aylin, she was a lot older when I weaned her. I think she was almost 3, and Luna was like just over 2 in a few months. And the process was so much easier than I had anticipated. It went really, really well. And I think a lot of that has to do with just the fact that we were setting boundaries around other things and just practicing supporting emotions through those early toddler years, and it made the process so much better. I remember going into like night weaning with Luna, and like if she woke up at night, I always nurse back to sleep, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna start with that because I knew I was gonna like fully wean soon. And I said to her before bed, she wasn't even, I guess she was, I'm trying to think what I did last. I kept nursing to sleep for like nap and bedtime. I night weaned her because I wanted her to get more solids during the day. Yeah, that's what I did. So I actually did the night weaning first, but I said, hey, like if you wake up at night, mommy's not going to nurse you back to sleep, but I'm going to give you some water. And I was like all prepared going into it. And sure enough, she woke up and she came into my bed. I was like, hey, here's your water. Mommy's not going to nurse you. And she just like looked at me and like chugged her water and like chucked it down and lay down. I was like, and I think I ended up not weaning as quickly after that because I was like, oh, that was easy. I don't have to, like, I wasn't even not ready with her. She just wasn't as like into the nursing as Aylin was. Aylin was a lot more sensitive to that. Like that was her sleep association. And she was like, I will keep going with this. Luna was like, I'd be putting her to sleep and she would be like nursing to sleep and then kind of like pop off and like just snuggle and go to sleep. Like she didn't have to be fully nursed to sleep. So I knew with her it wasn't going to be that hard, but I was actually really surprised with that nighttime wake up. And everyone was messaging me. They're like, how did the night weaning go? I was like, nothing happened. It was the most uneventful night weaning process ever. So I do chalk that up to just how we had supported emotions and stuff with her from an early toddler age and everything, and that helps. So practicing that as much as possible during the day is one of our biggest tips for making these types of changes and stuff. I think one thing that I have had a few questions about is like, what does supporting emotions actually look like? And there was a really good video online that I think we saw like during our course content of just a dad who was just sitting there with his child and supporting her through that emotional change. Like she was having a full-on meltdown, temper tantrum type thing, clearly was not regulated at all. And he just sat with her and just kind of supported her through that. Very calm himself, held her when she wanted to be held. That's a big thing, is like some toddlers don't want to be touched. I think it depends on your child's temperament and stuff. You might get like, I'm trying to support my child's emotions and they're just pushing off of me. Like it is okay to give your child space. We just want to be present and there for when they are willing to kind of accept that comfort. Because a lot of children right away, they're just gonna freak out. And then it's almost like you see a little bit of a light switch go off where they're like, okay, now I'm ready for a hug. And I know that was the case with both of my kids, is we see the little light switch go off and it's like, okay, I'll accept physical comfort now that I know that the boundary is in place and we're not going to be changing anything around that. Okay, I'm ready to accept support. And during that time when you're supporting those emotions, it is okay to have boundaries in place around your own body. I know with some moms who are like weaning, we have children that are like pulling and pinching and stuff like that. It is okay to gently take their hands and not let them do that during that time, and just making sure that like if you have a child that's gonna like smash their head on the ground like Luna, that you're protecting them and like keeping the environment as safe as possible. So if they're in an unsafe environment, it is okay to scoop them up and move them to a place where it's a little bit more safe for them to have those big emotions while you support them through. But just sitting there, holding your child while they cry, sitting beside them, offering, your voice as comfort, a little bit of touch if they're okay with that. And then most kids will have that kind of light switch go off and they'll accept more support. But the biggest thing is just staying calm and regulated yourself, because the second you escalate, co-regulation kicks in and it's not gonna go well. I know that from lots and lots of experience myself.
Of course, because it's hard to be like calm and regulated every single time. Like whoever's listening, I'm sure they're like, oh, I've done this all the time. Like, how am I supposed to have the time to sit there for so long every single time, right? So it's like, we understand you might not be able to do this in the middle of like public. It's just like, that's when you can like take them in the car or like take them wherever you can safely and talk to them about it. There are going to be times where you have to use distraction. You have to just like get up and move along, especially for safety reasons. But if you are home practicing things or practicing things for naps or practicing at bedtime, like there's a lot of practice you can do before you actually go into the night or go into bedtime and whatnot. But that's why like just holding those firm boundaries during the day, and especially like you said around safety, helps for when you're ready for like sleep boundaries too, because it's just they're used to you setting a boundary and being firm with it and not changing your mind. Because if you get uncomfortable with tears and you change your mind after 10 minutes of crying, they know, okay, I can cry for 10 minutes and then mom will change her mind. And it's not like, because people will say your children can manipulate you, and we know that they can't. It's just that they're smart and they learn cause and effect, and they learn that. So like you have to just kind of stick to it and be firm, and you can be loving about it. It's not like abuse or like so harsh and mean. It's like firm and loving boundaries, because these is what is creating that secure child, and it's creating that resilience and that adaptability for like our children. Because like you said, you'll see that little click go off. You really do see them being so mad, and then like that click goes and it's like a sad cry, and they're ready to hug you, and like they're ready to like embrace you. And like now Nora's click is so much quicker. Like if she does get mad at me about something and runs away, I'm like, oh, okay, like I'm here when you're ready. And then she comes right away, oh, I'm so sorry, and like hugs me and says she loves me. And like that's so much faster now because of all the years we've done it. And it's so funny. And the one day Dave's just like, whoa, like when did it happen? And those step redemptions aren't as long anymore. I'm like, it just happens one day. We like forget about how hard it was back then. But yeah, just like we said, that mad to sad click, you'll see, like you actually see the transition. And that's a good thing with their transitioning. They're accepting something they can't change. That's really important for our children to go through. If they can't change it, they're adapting and then they're moving on. This is good for them to build any skill in their life, just like anything. Things come up in life. You plan to go to the playground, then it started raining and your kid's throwing a fit on the ground. Like you can't change the weather. But if they're used to like adapting to changes, then they're going to be like, oh, that's too bad. And they move on, So it's like really great skills to have.
For sure. And like that's something that I think as like adults, like if something horrible happens that we have no control around, most of us who are comfortable with our emotions will cry about it. Like it's okay to have those tears around the things that they can't change. There's nothing we can do about it. And that is what leads to children being adaptive and us being adaptive as parents, and being able to not sit there and just dwell on something and hold on to something. Because I mean, I'm obviously guilty of that. I will sit there and dwell on things, and it's like, no, I just need to have a good cry. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm going to go watch a sad movie or, read a depressing book, and then I'll get my emotions out. And
exactly. Or get a hug from your partner and they help you feel better and move through it, right? It's like, how much better does it feel to cry in the arms of someone that loves you, instead of like crying yourself to sleep alone? Like it's such a difference. Of course, as women, right? So I'm sure a lot of us, like our touch tank is empty, or like we just want time alone. Like all of us are different, but it does feel better to cry to somebody, cry to a friend, cry to someone about what you're going through. And that's the same.
Or talk to them about it, like be able to express how you're feeling comfortably and safely. Maybe it doesn't result in tears, but you're still able to like express how you're feeling. And I think that's the thing too, is like if something happens in life, maybe they're not going to cry about it anymore, but they're able to talk about how they're feeling and not react in a reactive negative way. It's teaching them long term how to regulate their emotions, which is like the goal. We all want to be emotionally regulated, healthy adults. But I really want to give just parents permission to, like, if something is not working for your family anymore, you're like, I hate doing this. I don't want to rock a 25-pound child to sleep anymore. Mm-hmm. It is okay to make a change around that. Hold a loving boundary and say, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. It's not working for me, but I'm going to support you through this change and support your big emotions that you're obviously going to have around this, because we've been doing it since you were born. But it's time to make a change, and we're going to support you through that. So you are allowed to make changes around things that aren't working for your family, and you're allowed to hold on to the things that do work. I just did a post last week of like all the things that I just don't care about at all in regards to my children's sleep. And a lot of people are like, well, what do you care about? So I'm making a post about that now. But a lot of it was like, I don't care how they fall asleep. It doesn't bother me as long as they actually go to sleep and it's not physically straining for me. So like Luna randomly, she'll be like, I want to be rocked to sleep. I'm like, cool, you can do that in the rocking chair. That's totally fine. But I will not physically stand up and rock a 30-pound, almost 5-year-old to sleep anymore. That's not going to work for me. Yeah. And obviously we don't nurse anymore. So there's that. They know that. So it is okay to make changes around that. And it's okay for your child to be upset around change. They're human beings and they're still learning and they don't know how to regulate their emotions. But it is okay as long as you are there, present as a regulated adult, and you're able to kind of help them feel safe enough to eventually do it. do it on their own.
One more thing. This is for like older children too who understand it. And just like you just said to her, like you can even say like, I can't rock you anymore. Like you're getting too big for me to physically rock you. And mommy has to take care of herself. I think that's so important for our children to see that, because like our parents' generations were so like self-sacrificing. Like our moms never took care of themselves, and we're taking care of ourselves, and our children see that. And I think that's a really beautiful thing too. Like I love laying with you. I love sleeping with you. Like all the things that you do love, but like don't say like I don't love rocking you, or like try to watch your verbiage, or just like I also have to take care of myself and I have to be the best mommy to you, and that's not doing this anymore, right? Or like certain things like that. I think that's okay to use that verbiage. Of course, age appropriate. Like you wouldn't be saying this to a 1-year-old, maybe a 3+ child. They will understand that, and then they're going to see that as they get older. Like, wow, my mom took care of herself when she was younger. She was probably still overstimulated and overwhelmed all the time, but I remember her taking care of herself, and that's really important, I think, for our kids to see too.
For sure.
Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to connect with us beyond the podcast. You can find me on all social media platforms at moonbay.sleep. And for more sleepy goodness, you can head over to Instagram and follow Eleni at Rooted in Sleep. Until next week, keep embracing the chaos.